just feedback for the test 1 of IELTS number 8, test 1 of the reading. Up on the top right here is the answers. On the top left are the questions, and then this is the actual text. So we're going to go through why the answers are what they are. Okay, the first text is about timekeeping. Remember to always look at the text, the title, of course, and also any images that come through it. So this is not the best quality image, but you can see straight away that it's something about a clock. And if we look at the subtitle, our conception of time depends on the way we measure it. So it's going to be talking about measuring time and probably the history related to measuring time. Okay, so let's just have a look at number 1 then. Number 1, the answer is D. Let's just have a look specifically at the key question, the key words here. Early timekeeping invention affected by cold temperatures. So let's highlight that there. And it says D, so we go to paragraph D. It's about cold temperatures. So freezing weather of Northern Europe. Over here. Freezing weather of Northern Europe. Okay. And so that's talking about the sundial. Not only the sundial. Cloudy and often. If we looked up here, it's talking about the water clock. Okay, sorry, the first water clock. So that should have been something that you might have underlined in your initial skimming, because it looks like it's quite one of the main things of each paragraph. So this is the main things, the water clock and the sundial here. So you might have written that on the left-hand side, D. Okay, look at number 2. That 2 is B. Explanation for the importance of geography and development of the calendar in farming communities. So farming communities and geography are the 2 important things here. Okay, and that's B, so let's look at B. Okay, so geography, something about northern climates or northern areas. And farming communities, there we've got it there, seasonal agriculture, so agriculture related to farming. Okay, look at number 3, then 3F, descriptions of the origins of the pendulum clock. So let's go down to F. Okay, it's up here, so origins. And we need to look for pendulum or something related to pendulum. Pendulum, a weighted device that swings from side to side. But here we've already got pendulum clock, so we don't need to worry about trying to find a synonym for that. It would be a bit tricky to find a synonym for such a thing. And the origins of it. Okay, so weight-driven mechanical clock, 1283. And that was the same for 1300 years. And the early 1400s came the invention of coiled spring, blah, blah, blah. And then in the 16th century, so all these numbers talk about different inventions until you finally reach in the 16th century this pendulum clock here. Okay, number 4E, details of the simultaneous effects, so things that happen at the same time, by different societies. To calculate time using uniform hours, that looks like it could be a synonym there, so different societies. Okay, so number 4E, let's go up here. Different systems evolved. And this is simultaneous, so that's all happening in the early 14th century. And then you've got, okay, different countries, so Italian, Babylonians, French, Germany. So different societies. And uniform hours. Okay, they're talking about temporal hours, which must be a type of different hours of different lengths. And then we've got equal ones, referring backwards to hours because that's a pronoun. And then equal, obviously relating to the word uniform here. Uniform in this case meaning the same. Okay, questions 5 to 8. They devised a civil calendar in which the months were equal. Okay, we're talking about different lists of nationalities. So number 5, it would be B, the Egyptians. So we need to find something about the months were equal in length. Okay, that's a civil calendar. That means everyone used it at the same time. Civil meaning for the people. So the Egyptians, if you'd scanned if you'd skimmed this, you would have found exactly where they were talking about Egyptians. I haven't scanned this. I'm just going on. Okay, here we go. The Egyptians formed a municipal calendar. Yes, municipal, relating to for the people. 12 months of 30 days. Okay, so each month had 30 days. So that's relating to equal in length, with the months are equal in length. Number 5, they divided the day into 2 equal halves. Okay, and that is, I think, the French. I think I've read that somewhere. F, yes. And that was when they were talking about the different. Yes, so the French split the day into 2 2-hour, 12-hour periods. So there we've got number 6 with F. Number 7 with D, that's the English. They developed a new cabinet shape for a type of timekeeper. So cabinet shape, cabinet meaning a box perhaps that something sits in. And here they're mentioning all the different, okay, it's not in there, they don't mention anything there or English. But there we go, we've got England here. And that's right, so the development of a new floor standing case. Okay, so you need to know that case and cabinet are related. And they were talking about something called, for the pendulum, this system that would make the pendulum more reliable, and therefore needing this long-standing case design. Okay, so 7 with D, which is the English. And then they created a calendar to organize public events and work schedules. And work schedules, so that's number 8. So the answer for that is A, the Babylonians. Thinking, again, skimming. So I keep on doing. If you'd scanned this, you would know where they're talking about. So Babylonians, in paragraph A, you would have written Babylonians because it's very important. This is what they're talking about here. Okay, so then measure time, introducing calendars to coordinate communal activities, plan a shipment of goods, and in particular to regulate planting and harvesting. In this case, relating to work schedules, talking about 5,000 years ago, that's basically what people would be doing. It's not the oldest job profession in the world, but probably the second oldest. 9 to 13. This is a type of question where you have to fill in the diagram. So they've already given you where to look for it. So you need to look at the 1670 lever-based device. And this was something invented in 1670. Okay, so this is called the escapement, resembling, meaning it looks like. So we need to find this scan for this word escapement. There we've got it here. And there again. It was called the anchor escapement, which is a lever-based device shaped like a ship's anchor, shaped resembling. So that with the word there, anchor or ship's anchor. So that resembling an anchor, resembling the anchor, anything that could fit there. So, but you must have anchor is the key word here. Okay, number 10. That is sort of the circular thing that it's got. If you know what those are called, they're called teeth in English. So you need to be able to lever-based device, yes. shake back, shake down, that in motion and drops so that it catches and releases each tooth of the escape wheel. Now it's a round thing, so we know it's a wheel. And okay, so there we go. It's round, it's a wheel, and the escape wheel is, you could have written escape, but just wheel would have been enough for number 10. Okay, then I've just said the plural for tooth is teeth. Each tooth of the escape wheel. And so that's the answer for number 11 there. Number 12, let's just go down there. So number 12 is talking about this long thing. And there's the small arc. So if we can find small arc in a very small arc here. So permitted the pendulum to travel in a small arc. So the only thing that could possibly be is number 12, a pendulum or long pendulum. Okay. Now, which beats each. Well, if we read on, we can see that it says, moreover, this invention allowed use of a long pendulum which could beat once a second. So beat each second is the answer there. And look, we're going to look at reading passage number 2 here. This is talking about air traffic control in the USA. And generally, there's no pictures or anything to go with it. So you're just going to generally get an idea of what you think they're going to be talking about. And then, of course, you're going to scan the text and then come back to these questions here. I haven't scanned the text, but I have got a general idea of where to look because I've got the answers here. Okay, so remember paragraph B has already been done. The answer for that is X, first steps towards ACT. So we're going to be just looking at paragraph A. Paragraph A, or number 14, is answer 2 for the Roman numeral 2. So aviation disaster prompts action. And here we've got this accident occurred, resulted in the establishment. So we've got prompts action and disaster accident there. So those are the synonyms there. So for number 15, so we're going to go directly to paragraph C. Is the answer is 2. So 2 coincidental developments, 2 things that happen at the same time. So in 1940s, they took advantage of new developed radar and communication. Okay, so we've got the advent of the jet engine, and we've got these newly developed radar and radio communication systems. So those things, two things happened, which is a very good thing. Fortuitous means that was lucky, because if that had not happened, it probably would have resulted in more accidents because these very fast planes would have crashed into each other more regularly. Okay, setting altitude zones. Altitude meaning that the height from the earth above, from sea level above. So 16. Oh, sorry. Sorry, over here, oversimplified view. Oversimplified, so that would be paragraph D. Many people think, this is a very typical thing, many people think you know that they're gonna say something that it's actually not true. Telling arriving and departing traffic what to do. This is a very incomplete part of the picture. It's not exactly what happens. In fact, it's very incomplete. It means it's exactly not what happens. It's very, very limited understanding of really what they do. Okay, then number 17 is IV. Here we go, setting altitude zones. So altitude, we're going to be looking for probably about, here we go, numbers 365 above ground, and the zones, so different zones. Okay, so controlled airspace near airports goes down to 250 meters, and then all the way to at the airport itself goes down to the surface. So these are different zones that are governed by FAA regulations. Okay, now we've got number 18. That's setting rules to weather conditions. Okay, So we can set down to here. There we go, straight away. Weather conditions, meteorological conditions here. There's the synonym. And rules, we can see it's something about probably regulations or words like permitted. There we go, rules. So we can see that. Then we've got number 19, defining airspace categories. Okay. So the next one there, G, types, categories, and defining it. So defining meaning giving it a name. So there's class F, class A, class, etc., etc. And so it goes, class E and A, and so forth. So there you've got the answers. Questions 20 to 26 now. This is true, false, and not given. So the answer for number 20 is false. It says the FAA was created as a result of the introduction of the jet engine. And, well, I know that from reading that that's not true. It was created as a result of the Grand Canyon disaster. And the jet engine, if we know this word fortuitous, meaning it was lucky, it just so happened to be developed at the time as well. So we know that this is false. Answer for 21. The air traffic control started after the Grand Canyon crash of 1956. So let's just double check that. Initially, I might think that was correct, but resulted in the establishment, that's a typical, yes, that's typical IELTS, the establishment of the FAA and not air traffic control. And so we know let's just double check. Rudimentary ATC existed well before the Canyon disaster. So we know that that is false then. Beacons and flashing lights are still used by ATC today. So beacons, those are red color, yellow, bright colored things, and flashing lights are used. Now, I haven't seen anything there, and that's also not given. So you would have to look for something related to that, synonyms. Don't waste your time. Obviously, if you can't find it, then it's probably not there. Page 20, question 23. Some improvements were made in radio communication during World War II. So let's go back to where we find something about World War II. Second World War. And improved. So we've got a true for number 23. 24, class F airspace is airspace which is below 365 meters and not near airports. Okay, let's just double check. So let's go down to this here. We already had those. Uncontrolled airspace is class F. Okay. And our controlled airspace is below. So it doesn't mention the height, but we did see something about 365 here somewhere. Here it's there. Just waiting for this. Okay, so in this way, the recreational pilot who simply wishes to go flying for a while without all the restriction imposed by the FAA has only to stay in uncontrolled airspace. In other words, below 365. These two commas mean that they're giving extra information. So they've given this uncontrolled airspace extra information, i.e. below 365 meters. So the correct answer for number 24 is true, yes. All aircraft in Class E airspace must use IFR. And let's have a look for this IFR. This is something that you would have underlined during your skimming, because it's got capitalized letters. So poor visibility necessitated a set of instrumental flight rules. Yes, rules at Class E. Class E. Just E class E and class S versus that class A. All operations are IFR. Yeah. So that's class E. Perhaps if it had been class A, that would be correct, but 25 is false. Then 26, pilot entering class C airspace was flying over an average size city. So class C, let's carry on here. Okay, classes D, C, and B govern the vicinity of airports. These correspond roughly to small municipal, medium-sized, metropolitan, so medium-sized, average-sized, and metropolitan city. Okay. Airports. This is true. Flying over a city, small. Okay, well, I'd rather that says airport because this goes roughly to small municipal, medium-sized metropolitan and major metropolitan airports, respectively. Okay, that's a bit tricky. I think they should be a bit more specific about that. And it's not just any city; it's about the relationship between where the plane is and another airport. So this would have to be average-sized airport, I think. But anyway, that's true. Okay, we're going to be looking at reading passage number 3. This is the last reading passage. It's about telepathy. If you're not sure what that means, remember to look, obviously, to take advantage of these subtopics here, subheadings here. So, can human beings communicate by thought alone? Telepathy is this ability, supposed ability to communicate with other people just by using your thoughts. Okay, let's have a look here. So, question number 27. Researchers with differing attitudes agree on one thing. So the answer here for E is, let's go down to E, the significance of the Ganzfeld experiments. Okay, so Ganzfeld is something you should have underlined because it's probably going to be with a capital letter. Okay, it's not. Okay, well, still, it's a word that you would have popped out when you're doing your skimming. And skeptics and advocates alike do concur. Concur means agree on one issue. The most impressive evidence so far has come from these Ganzfeld experiments. Ganzfeld experiments. Okay. Question 28b. The need to create a suitable environment. So suitable environment. And the need is probably a synonym need for that. So that's 28b, and let's have a look at this. Okay, so the signals passing between people were so faint that they were usually swamped by normal brain activity. So in this case, such signals might be more easily detected by those experiencing meditation-like tranquility. So the need to create a suitable environment. Just looking for this word need, and what way is that synonym? Signals might be more easily detected. So I think it's sort of it's suggested here. The word need is suggested might be more easily detected. So perhaps, it's giving a suggestion, type of suggestive language here with might. Okay, 29A. Okay, let's just have a look at. Oh, sorry. Should have looked at here, sir. Positive experiences during meditation indicated. Okay, that's why I was a bit confused. So, reports. Okay, the reports of telepathic experiences had by people during meditation led parapsychologists to suspect that it might involve signals. Okay. So for 28, just going backwards a little bit here, we should be looking at now. 29, attitudes to parapsychology would ultimately drastically change a lot with, and he said 29 is A, the discovery of a mechanism for telepathy, something that creates telepathy, something, a physical thing that makes telepathy happen. Okay, so we need to look for perhaps this word mechanism or something, a synonym related to it. Okay, we come all the way down to almost the last paragraph here. Okay, here we go. They've got the synonym for the same word for mechanism, possible mechanisms. And so they're talking about this quantum entanglement, where atoms become entangled, electrons become entangled with each other. And that somehow might affect another person's brain. And this is supposedly a physical thing. Therefore, they've got this relationship between mechanism here that might possibly create telepathy. Okay, 30. Recent autumn Gunsford trials suggest that success rates will improve with and recent, so quite recent. And that would have with F, the more careful selection of candidates. Okay, so we're down here. The hit rate of 56%. Before we were looking at only 30%. Shows that creative and artistic people do much better than average. Can't hear from this word recent, but I suppose that's not. Maybe that's not. Okay, here we go. We've got the present perfect. This is suggesting this is a recent thing here. So basically looking at the grammar to find this and a recent. Okay, 9 questions of the test. And this is a table that about telepathy experiments, and you need to fill it in. So the first one, this is the Ganzfeld studies, and look, you've got here 1982. So we're talking about this period of time here. And sorry, you can't see, but my mouse pointer spins around, so I can't do anything for a while. Okay, so this is the Ganzfeld experiment. It involved, the idea was that something related to involved a person acting as a sender. They've got the word acting, so that's very helpful. And then so your word here, sender, fits into 31. Who picked out one temp being the image. Picked out an image from a random selection of 4. Who would attempt to beam the image. Now, the image must, I'm just looking at the word senders, and the image, it must have been referred to beforehand, because otherwise they can't use the, okay. Here we got the word involved, okay. Involved identification of a picture chosen from a random selection, Okay, so chosen, i.e. by the sender, from a random selection of 4. Okay, so we've got this word picture here, or you could have used image here as well. So both of them were accepted on 32. 33, and a receiver who tried to identify it, so beam the image over to the receiver. So we've got this word receive, yeah. Okay, then that's 33, then 34. Okay. Possible results could be produced by factors such as, okay, so in either order, sensory leakage or fraud. Okay, so positive results could be produced. You could improve that hit rate of 28%. So we've got this flaw meaning mistake or problem or issue. Okay, but yeah, we've got this positive, the other ways of getting this positive result. And these are sort of things you also need to, when you're doing your skimming, you need to look out for things with inverted commas, because they often occur somehow in the questions. So sensory leakage is one of them, and outright fraud. Okay, remember you can only put in no more than 3 words. So, oh, there it is. Outright fraud would be accepted. Okay. Now 36, computers were used for key tasks to the limit. Used for key tasks. Okay, so they were showing still too many troubles, too many problems with the experiments. So they decided to switch to auto guns, automated variant of the technique which used computers to perform the many key tasks. And okay, so computers were used to limit the amount of limit. So we got this word limit here, which is probably related to minimize the risk of flawed results, minimizing machine involvement. The risk of flawed results has got 4 words, whereas human involvement only 2, so it can only be this one. If it had said 4 words up at the top here, that wouldn't have been a problem to use the risk. So flawed results, allowed to use more than 3 words. 38. The subjects were then subjected to the results. So subjected to the results was studied by how? Studied, subjected to, again, looking at these words with semicolons, with inverted commas around them. I don't know, be here, so meta-analysis there. Okay, 39, the lack of consistency between different is put down to meaning the cause of it caused some of the lack of consistency between the different test results was caused by the fact that that's what they're trying to say. So we're looking for this word caused or a synonym of it. To the fact that sample groups, okay, so we need sample groups. Now it's samples. Yeah, so some parapsychologists believe remain disturbed by the lack of consistency between individual Ganzfeld studies. Okay, so tricky one. So lack of consistency between the test results was caused by the fact that sample groups were not large enough. Now, do we have this word enough? Not big enough. Here we go. So if you'd written big enough, that would be directly from the text. If you'd used large enough, that would have been acceptable as well. Okay, so I hope you did well in that test, and feel free to write any comments either on my website or on YouTube here if you have any questions.